Today, I would like to talk about the difference between theory and practice. In other words, about talking the talk and walking the walk. Many people today are consuming spirituality instead of embodying it. This might be the result of the inner tyrant we all have inside us, telling us how we should behave. The call to inner work and service to spirit is not coming from the conditioned mind. It is coming from the heart and is like the sound of a crystal clear bell sounding that elicits joy and curiosity and doesn't contain thoughts related to I must or I should or I could have or anything of that kind. If you resonate with talking the talk but have conditioned thoughts about walking the walk, then this message is for you. Believe me, many people have been stuck for years merely talking the talk while having either no clue on how to start walking the walk or the conditioned mind persuaded them to stay in their comfort zone. But don't beat yourself up. It's all happening in divine timing, remember? Everybody needs their own time to process their experiences, and sometimes they have a transformative experience pushing them over the edge and start walking the walk. So far, I have been talking about the passive approach, where we have our experiences, perform our inner work, but aren't really motivated to actually begin walking the walk. Yes, we do our daily meditations, we practice appreciation, we are unconditional love, up to a point, of course, because unfortunately, not everybody is appreciating unconditional love. And all that makes us happy. I should probably say that this makes the ego happy. Being spiritual should not make the ego happy. Genuine spiritual work makes the ego angry. It is driving it nuts. Because you're not doing it for the ego, you're doing it for your true self. And the ego doesn't tolerate competition. It wants us to do everything it suggests. But if you're following your true self, despite the ego's objections, through the conditioned mind, that's when you're walking the walk. What if I told you that there is a way for the ego to deliberately foster spiritual work and not get angry with its continued practice while using every trick in the book to stop spiritual work through mundane belief systems? Sometimes we think the following: I had enough, or I need to go shopping, or I need to take out the dog for a walk, or my love needs me now. The list of excuses is endless. If we really wanted to walk the walk, we would have performed our daily meditation in the early morning, before shops open for business, or well ahead of the time we need to walk the dog, and we would strike a balance between service to others and serving our true self. Let's back up for a moment and examine the mechanism through which the ego assesses whether inner work is enough for the day or whether we can continue practicing it indefinitely. We will always choose to do anything that is less painful in the moment compared to what is more painful. Thoughts about shopping, or the dog, or our loved one crop up because our conditioned mind is designed to remind us of what makes us happy. Okay, you might think now that this is not true. You love meditating, you love inner work, but there are other obligations you have, just like the rest of us. Unfortunately, the ego will use anything that it knows about you against you when its survival is at stake. You see now why your efforts performing inner work are failing. Obviously, there may be other reasons why you're not progressing that are not related to not wanting to progress. Perhaps you do not wish to progress currently, and that's a valid reason not to. All is happening in divine timing, but that is a conscious choice. The conditioned mind has robbed us of conscious choices. Fortunately, for those of you who perceive the calling to experience the greater reality we are all living in, as well as the gentle nudge from Spirit to apply yourselves, but are bothered by the conditioned mind, there's hope. This is just one of many obstacles on our path as perceived by the ego to sabotage our inner work. Spirit is not testing you. It is waiting patiently for you to overcome all obstacles, many of which are illusions created by the ego through the conditioned mind. It is a matter of perspective. There are no tests that we must pass to appease a benevolent higher authority. We ourselves are this higher authority in the form of our true selves. This is a free will universe that allows us to exercise free will every moment of our lives. So, considering all the above, how do we flip the script and begin walking the walk? How do we stop consuming spiritual information and start embodying spirituality? Ask yourselves, which activity do you like practicing during inner work? What brings you more joy and happiness performing it? What is it that you perhaps might be looking forward to whenever it's time to practice it? Do that. The more you do that, I guarantee you that you will feel better about your inner work, and lo and behold, you're pushing ego boundaries that appeared unmovable earlier. Your ego becomes your friend, and the pleasure you are deriving from any inner work activity you like reinforces and rewards the habit of such activity. Out of all inner work activities, decide deliberately what feels good for you and apply it. That's what you should focus on to allow yourself to move from stagnation to expansion. When that practice ceases to be of interest and gives you less joy and potentially boredom, move on to something else that gives you more joy in the moment. Try, experiment, and play with all that is available to you. If you cannot find anything that's joyful in the moment, try expanding your horizons. Look for something new that will give you more joy compared to what you have been doing so far. Let's consider some examples. If meditation is your thing, try exploring the state of the Oceanic Sea of Consciousness and stay in that delicious feeling of joy for as long as you can and feel inclined to do so. Then, within that state of being, explore your multidimensionality and play with it. Or try to have inner contact with an extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional being. Whatever you do, begin with a state of the Oceanic Sea of Consciousness. You enter this altered state by going as deep as you can in your meditation and remember all loving feelings and all gratitude that you can muster. Embody this feeling. Be that feeling. Surrender to this feeling as much as you can. After a while, this feeling becomes self-sustaining. Time seems to stop. Clarity of thought emerges. The conditioned mind is but a distant memory the deeper you get into the state of the Oceanic Sea of Consciousness. And the joy of your true self becomes the prevalent feeling. If you continue this meditation, you will be able to have all these beautiful spiritual experiences that I mentioned earlier. The more you practice, the more this joy will overflow into your waking state. I guarantee you this will happen based on personal experience. If you are honest in your practice and begin it without expectations, then you are in for an interesting ride, to put it mildly. Like everything in life, practice makes perfect, as Cicero said. What happens after that? That depends on your life's circumstances, your personal objectives, your character's skills and shortcomings, and the strength of your conditioned mind. If you can keep the conditioned mind at bay long enough to enter the state of the Oceanic Sea of Consciousness during meditation, then you have reached your first objective. Next, you will want to sustain this loving, joyful feeling within the meditation and try to go deeper. Your success depends on how much you have calmed your conditioned mind so that you may enjoy this state as long as possible. Don't get discouraged initially if you cannot feel any joy, love, or gratitude. You need to nurture this practice. Be yourself and try to achieve this state of being without any effort from the mind. The trick is to allow this state of being to emerge by emptying the mind and not to force this state of being. Sooner or later, you will succeed. There's no doubt about it. After a while, you feel the Oceanic Sea of Consciousness blooming within you. There is no other way to describe it. It's when all feelings of joy and gratitude deepen and evolve into unconditional love and appreciation for all that is. In this state of being, we are content with life. Our challenges, dreams, and aspirations on this world will still exist, but achieving this important milestone in your inner work practice will give you a major boost in life. The first time I experienced this state of being in 2022, it was in a group meditation with my inner contact group. Although I felt much joy, gratitude, and unconditional love, something interesting happened. I couldn't think with the mind after the meditation was over. I could only think in emotional aspects and concepts. I was thinking in the language of the heart. Speaking was also a drain on my state of being. I thought something was wrong with me, but it turned out that I just needed to get used to it. After the group meditation was over, I went back into this delicious state of being on my own and stayed in this condition for another hour. After a while, I concluded that this state of being is that of my true self. How can we utilize this being, this state of being? I found out that the longer I stay in this meditative state, the more of this condition spills over to my waking reality, and the less my conditioned mind is interfering with my purpose and passions in life. It is actually reminding me of them, because following my heart is a joyful experience. After all this suffering I have endured last year, I feel that I am ready to apply myself. I am now learning about AI and about other topics and disciplines that I considered too complicated earlier. Applying ourselves in the direction of our purpose and passions in life is the best activity that we can foster. We will never get tired of it, and the consciousness expansion is phenomenal. You could learn a new craft or discipline, change your job for a more fulfilling one, start a new hobby, or engage in a community activity that you love. You will decide naturally on what you want to pursue. In this new era from 2026 onward, business as usual is unsustainable. It is the last call to action, to apply ourselves, and to follow our hearts. Choose anything that floats your boat, not what rocks your boat. Succeeding in following your heart is achieved through perseverance, integrity, and by surrendering to your true self. It is directly proportional to these metrics. Are you ready to put your life on a new track? Are you ready to leave your old life from before 2026 and enter a new stage in your life where you are consciously working on being joyful, sovereign, and confident? If you haven't answered immediately, then your conditioned mind is probably interfering. Who doesn't want to experience joy, sovereignty, and confidence? Reasons like, I'm too old for this beep, or I need my peace of mind, or I have no time for this, are unacceptable in 2026. This is not a year like any other. It's a year where unseen forces in the backstage of life conspire to uplift us, to support us, and to nurture us. Why wouldn't we take advantage of it? The universe wants us to expand, to succeed in our aspirations, to realize our dreams, and to feel unlimited joy, even if we believe that we cannot do that. Let's look at each of the previous excuses. I'm too old for this beep is a preferred reason offered by the conditioned mind to remind us of our old and outdated belief system that we have lived past our prime and that we cannot evolve past that. That's a fallacy. If you look online, you can see a ton of examples of people achieving impossible feats after passing their prime years. I need my peace of mind is another typical excuse offered by the conditioned mind. It is reminding us of our tendency to relax after a hard day's work. Paid work is typically associated with hard effort, and the conditioned mind is subtly suggesting that following our passions in life requires effort. This belief is illogical and out of context. Like a seasoned used cars salesperson, the conditioned mind fails to mention that the effort in following our passions and purpose in life is liberating and uplifting. There is no way we can compare the effort involved in paid work with the effort expended while pursuing our life's dreams and aspirations. I have no time is actually more objective. Most people today don't have enough time to pursue what makes them happy. However, what kind of life is worth living if your work takes up most of your time during the day, not leaving enough time for you? If your work is paying well, you will accumulate wealth that you will probably not enjoy. If it is important to you, you will make time. The saying, work hard, play hard, is nonsense, and it used to drive me nuts with its faulty logic. Fortunately, I have accepted it as one of the things that don't affect me anymore. Working hard so that you may be compensated far below your value for the work you put in is not balanced by playing hard. It leads to a nervous breakdown. The ability to work, to sustain yourself while being able to care for your family and friends is a balancing act while living on our polarized prison planet and sustained by our conditioned mind. We need to begin applying ourselves while prioritizing self-care. What do we want from life? How do we want to live? If answering those questions hits a brick wall in the form of "it is what it is," then there is something fundamentally wrong with our lives. Life is not some unyielding thing that cannot be changed. It is totally malleable by free will and by following our heart. Life is change. Why shouldn't we change our circumstances in life? If we don't like them, we can change them. And if we don't like them, but don't change them, then we will continue paying the price for them. We need to relearn how to live and reframe our lives. And we need to prioritize our goals and passions in life over any other activity as much as possible. Business as usual is unsustainable from now on.